All right, good morning. We are back, and day 11 of the TBRD01 ClickRigs trophy truck kit. This thing we are going to do some rendering today, and just kind of go over a couple of. Let's do a quick recap of where we're at, and so this is the kit pretty much in its final iteration, I think. So we might have to make a few little tweaks based on manufacturability, but these are the parts that we want to make. A couple of things I worked on a little bit over the weekend just to kind of finalize. We got this this light assembly, which is ridiculous and also super rad. I'll kind of show you here that it's a two-piece. Actually, technically, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10-piece light. But you've got the light mount here. Actually, got a couple of. Let's turn these little lights on. That's why it looks so dark. And then we've got the three-piece light itself, just connected with this hoop structure. So similar to kind of an old school big HID roof light setup. And these just get snap dot connectors. That snaps on into a unit, and then you can connect that to pretty much anything. In fact, I mean, if we wanted to the idea is this light, can be used, and you could put this on all kinds of rigs. So if you wanted to throw it on something like the Baja Race Commando, you could do that. And AI has there. I'm over here. Okay. All right. Let's. But anyway, we've got that. We finished up our side pods. They tie into the bottom. Our clip system. We've got our limit straps, which that's these right there. And those thread through the two axle trusses, and then thread through like a belt loop there, and then you can adjust. So if you take that, basically you've got these adjustment, and you can just kind of pull it through and then adjust it to where you want the droop limit to be. And got the hood, we got our extra snap studs there to make this a really nice connection. You've got the detachable grill. You've got these detachable lights. And yeah, that's where we're at. Let's kind of just do a quick sort of disassembly here, just to show you kind of some of the major components. And so we've got the main chassis itself covered by these side pods, triangulated 4-link live axle rear end, unequal length A-arm front suspension. Got our cab and our tail section, and then the tail section is reinforced by these struts And again, in the ClickRig system, all of these parts are interchangeable. So we could take parts from this rig and we could throw it on to these. We can build entirely new rigs out of them. So, you know, if we wanted to throw this A-arm front end onto this and replace these leaf springs, we could do that. So yeah, we'll be doing more videos where we kind of do we sort of do mashups and build new rigs from existing parts. But for now, we are working on the TB-RD01, and this thing is super close to being up in the store and available for sale at ClickRigs.com. This, yeah, we're about 40 plus hours of design work into this thing so far, and I haven't done a complete part count just yet, but we're well over. This thing's going to be somewhere between 200 and 300 total components in the kit when it's all said and done, and it should be a really fun one to put together. And we'll probably do that tomorrow. We'll have a couple of the manufacturing samples back from the farm, and we will do a trial assembly just to kind of figure out the best workflow, so that I can do an instructional video so that this thing can be released. But I think let's just go really quick through the CAD, make sure I'm not missing anything fundamental, and then we will export this out to Keyshot and start some rendering. So this is our model. You know, to render this, we are actually going to have to, ideally we're going to model the limit straps, and I think I've got one in here. But the issue is obviously the limit strap looks like this. So it's obviously modeled in the orientation to be made flat, but on the car, in the render, this isn't going to be flat, so we're actually going to have to model a folded version of this. So let's just start doing that so that we can jump into Keyshot. Let's see, what is the best way to do that? So it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be a good enough approximation so that when we do the renders, people will know what they're getting. So I think we can kind of come straight up. So let's just start from here. I just want to pick up a distance to, let's just say to here. So straight line, I'm just going to copy that. 32.4 roughly. Alright, so now I think I'm going to go into, what's the best way to do this? Let's just create a new studio. I'll just name this render limit strap. And we're going to drive in our existing strap just so that we have let me go to the model catalog. Perfect. Hide these planes. Okay, so now we've got this. I'm just going to change the color. We've got this limit strap, and we're going to cut it up and kind of remodel it in its bent state. But I need to really quickly go let the dog out because she's whining. I'll be right back. All right, we're back, and we are just cutting this thing up. So first thing I think I'm going to do is let's just make a plane. There you go, offset. We're just going to use that distance that we check, and then I'm just going to split this. So I'm going to split it with this plane. Done. So now we've got this section. I'm just going to go like A, B, C, D up the chain. And then so now where we come through, let me open up the assembly. So that basically gets us to the bottom of this. And now what we kind of need to do, let's see, how thick are we? So 2 millimeters. And 3. So 2 and 3. And we do it that way. So this basically needs to loop around 2, so let's just do a new sketch. I wonder if we can just do this with an arc, keep it let's get smart with this here, and let's kind of make it dimension driven. We're just going to kind of do a couple lines. I'm just going to add an angle dimension to this because well, right now, let's say we're going sorry, delete that. Let's just say, you know, we could go 90, but let's just say we're doing like 80 or something. So it's going to loop around, but then it's going to come back, not quite perpendicular, or not quite parallel. So let's do an arc. It's going to be like our inside. Let's leave that for now. Let's do it again. Just like that. These are going to be together. And let's see, what is the best way to do that? It's going to be perpendicular. You don't want that. And then for the radius, I think we can make that 1. So we kind of make it kind of tight, and that's where it's going to loop around. And so now we are fully defined. We should be able to just trim this up. What's Let's make these two, and they should be perpendicular. Right. And this should be equal. Okay, so that essentially gives us kind of our loop. And so if we are coming around 90, that should work. Yep. We're coming around 45. Let's go into here. I'm curious what our the angle from here to here is. So it's 10.2 degrees. So we're just going to essentially do 90 minus 10.2. In theory, that should be what we want. And let's see, what's our distance between here? We can just add these in. 2.57. Curious, or what's our inside length? Okay, so we could add just a little nub. Okay, so now that just to make our lives a little easier, just going to give a little tiny bit of a nub there. I think we can trim this one now. Yeah, so that'll just give us a face so we can kind of extrude and continue that without having to do a new sketch. So now let's just rename these. Let's call this the A loop, and let's extrude. We're going to do a new, maybe missing faces part, and we're going to just go up to face. Just like that. Don't really want it to be new though. Actually, we do want to add that. We might as well add that. Not to that one though. Let's add it to that one. Okay. So now let's just throw it in real quick and kind of see where we're at. Let's fix that. So a little bit of an offset. That's good. However, we're let's just do that. We got our length wrong, obviously. Let's say 47, 48. So our plane offset. It's better. And we're actually going to probably want a little bit of a loop in there anyway. And what are we looking at? We're right in line there, but we are 5 forward. Easy enough. $15.6. Okay, so we're gonna jump back here. We're gonna do another offset plane. Looks good. And we're going to do another split. Perfect. Let's just hide that. Okay, so we're just going to kind of okay, so now So we're just gonna offset all these. Let's see how close we got here. That's very strange. That's don't know what happened there, but let's reinsert this. Pretty close. Pretty close. So we just need to move that back. How much? Let's just say there. Oh, that's not what we want. 5.4. So let's so I think what I want to do is I just want to fix all of that for now. It's almost like we just want. That's pretty good, actually. So now we just need to add the little nubs, throw the other one in there, and I think we'll be good to render. This is going to be that tedious where we need to Let's see, so I've never used the curve pattern before. So let's, and so what we're doing is we are modeling this limit strap in its bent state, because normally it's manufactured flat like that, but because we're about to jump into keyshot and rendering these things, we're just doing a quick model in its ride height state. So, and what I'm trying to add are these little nubs, but to this. So let's see, let's do a new nub. And let's see, curve pattern. Let's pattern that. Actually, let's see, what is our 2.57? Let's say 10. Oh, look at that. Does it work all the way? Look at that. And then we're going to add that. We're going to add it to here. Oh, damn. That is awesome. So what do we got going on here? Didn't like all of them, so let's show everything here. I see what's going on. Okay, so let's just go into this sketch here. We're just going to extend it inboard. Sure. That's better. So it was just kind of not quite making contact around that curve, which makes sense because it's outside of that curve. Well, that was handy. That's a great thing to know. So let's see. There we are. And, you know, this isn't like perfect, but it's honestly, for a render, it's just fine. You kind of miss it there, but we could. Let's just bring this back. Let's see this face. Well, one and a half millimeters maybe. That's our A loop. was hoping it was like an assembly. Or we could just unfix everything. It's probably good enough. Let's see, we wanted to come back. I'm just gonna eyeball it. That was the wrong direction. Almost. Almost. So that needs to come down. Cool. I'm fine with that. Now we've broken our curve pattern. Excellent. There we go. It's good enough for rendering work. So let's add one more. And where's that tire? Trying to find the spare tire now, so we can. There we are. Oh. Excellent. Cool. I think this thing is ready to drop in. Let's just go and take a look. What we're going to do, we're just going to do a quick render. So the parts that are the light gray are model catalog parts, and the dark gray black parts are new parts. The model catalog parts have some faces that have been given an appearance, so that when we bring them in to the rendering software KeyShot, we can apply a different material to essentially to the top, bottom, and sides to sort of simulate the 3D printed textures. A lot of these parts will not have that. Trying to think. Probably the cab, the tail, and the side pods, though, we should do. So let's just let's just do that now. And you can split these faces up in KeyShot, but I found it's a lot easier to, oh, that's not what I want to do. It's a lot easier to separate them out in here, because you're dealing with an actual feature-based model rather than a mesh. Okay, so now we got that face, we got the sides, and we got these bottom faces for that. Let's go back to the render assembly. What else are we? Let's do that to the cab as well. Again, just so we can accurately render some of these textures. So we're essentially just kind of selecting all of these top face features. adding a face appearance. And with that, we'll let us do again in KeyShot. We'll be able to apply a different material to get a different texture. And we might as well, we're in here, let's do it to this one as well. And just kind of looking at all the parts that might be. Actually, this one. I wish you could do this within the assembly, but OnShape does not let you. Essentially, by telling it, though, that you want to give that face an appearance, when you export it as a step file, it will essentially call that face out as its own entity. Let's do that for the tail, too. We're just selecting essentially all of these parallel top faces. Anything that's angled like these or these will get the texture that basically mimics the side layer lines. Whereas all these flat faces that we're selecting now will get the texture that simulates like a printed top surface. And fun fact, those textures are actually made from photographs of the actual printed parts with the settings that we use for manufacturing. So they're fairly close. So basically each part, each component in the rendering gets 3 different materials. And when I get when these parts get officially added to the model catalog, they get saved out as a standalone step file, and all these faces get split up. I'm just doing so all of these parts will get that sort of treatment. I'm just kind of picking some of the major ones that we'll want to see from the rendering. Kind of feel like these I want it as well. that you won't really ever see. That's probably going to be good enough for this first pass render. And let's just make sure we got the suspension where we want. And just select the tires because it kind of cool. Let's export this whole thing. See how long that takes. And call this test render. See how long Onshape takes to give me the save dialog. Oh, not too bad. Okay, so now, let's see, do I have this set up? Can I jump over into Keyshot? Yes, okay. I'll just save this. Okay, so now let's import. See what we get. See if it comes in on the right orientation. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so now we can start adding materials. I'm going to, we've got some other models in here. I can kind of show you. Got the Mayday rig and some various color schemes. Yeah, if we go to the camera, kind of see what we've got there. But we're actually we're just gonna, I think we're gonna delete this one. And let's see, let's go into our materials here. And so basically I've got, if we go to side, we're just going to do all the red parts first. I know they're coming in as blue, but that's okay. Go to the free camera. I think I wanted to make one of these clips red. Let's keep it in black for now, though. Okay, so what we can do, we've got our red components. Actually, let's just go, there's a couple more that are going to be red. Now we can go into our materials and we're just going to select our PLA materials. And change that to red. And so you can kind of see we've got that kind of top texture coming in. And here we need to add our side. Cool, well, let's start. And so now we are going to just keep doing that. Let's see. There we go. There's probably a better way to do this. I am not a keyshot master, but sometimes the way the materials are a little wonky. Like they get applied to a bunch of stuff, and then you have to sort of unlink them. And now that gives us, and then we need, let's apply the bottom one. Because actually that's maybe there. One of these. There we go. So now we can apply this bottom texture. Maybe. So, yeah, this thing's coming along. Let's see. Bottom for that one. I'll start doing this, I'll start doing the TPU. We're going to do it in a different color, and then we're going to switch it over to the green. This part's always kind of fun to me. It's sort of like painting, but without the tedium of actual painting. Let's save it though. That is something that can ruin your day, is having to redrag all this stuff. Let's jump back into so see, these are already split. So actually, that's a bottom texture. That's a side texture. Let's go in here, let's turn off the ground planes. Let's look underneath. Let's go in real quick. Let's oh. I see some green in there. I'm just looking for all the, make sure we got all the TPU bits. I think so. So now we should be able to go in and change this color. That is not the right one. Overture does not give you a hex code for their materials. Polymaker does though, which is super convenient. Which is where a lot of those swatches come from. So those are roughly matched to the actual color of the filament. Let's see. That one, let's unlink that. That's actually black. was weird. So what? Aha. Cool. So that's pretty dang close. I guess one of the things we could do, we could go through and do these yellow bits just to make sure those render out correctly. I guess I could have thrown some snap dots in there, but that's okay. This will get us close. Oh, we did miss a little bit there. Unlink all of those. Perfect. Okay, so we got our materials all applied. Let's go check our different lighting scenarios. I think that looks pretty good. Let's check. Let's see. Studios. So I kind of have a bunch of pre-set up studios that have different lighting environments, and let's turn our ground planes back on though while we're at it. It's a little better. You can kind of see we've got the, I don't actually model the bulge in the tire, but I just kind of drop it a little bit below that ground plane, so it looks like it's kind of squishing a little bit under some weight. I do think this one just get that angle right. That looks better. Oh, you know, we are missing materials. These bearings actually get that. Cool. I'm gonna take a quick break and I'll be right back in like 2 minutes. All right, we are back. And let's see. Oh, I had the comments hidden behind the little window, but it looks like you're gone. But Martin, can I ask your PC specs? That looks awesome. Thank you. It's a Mac Studio. I guess I could pull this up here real quick. It is a Mac Studio with an Apple M2 Ultra chip, 64 gigabytes of RAM. Let's jump into let's see. Hold on one second. That's better. Yeah, what all we got in here? It's thought it would give me more information in this thing, but yeah. Anyway, it's a Mac Studio from 2023, 64 gigs of RAM, M2 Ultra chip. So. Okay, so back to this. Let's see. I've got the little comment window here open now, so I need to see if I can set it up to make a noise when I get a comment. Anyway, you can kind of see, let's see if we can, we've got the actual model and we've got this isn't fully rendered, but the preview of the render. Let's switch to the overhead. So not too shabby. Okay, so and from here, what's kind of, and there's probably a better way to do this too. I think you can do like configurations or something, but let's do this. Let's link all the duplicate materials. Okay, so now we've simplified our material setup here. Looks like we've got probably something in here that but that's okay. It doesn't really matter because it's hidden and you can't see it. So let's just experiment with some colors. Let's so we've essentially got three colors. We've got our green, kind of lime green for the TPU bits, and we've got a red and we've got a black, and then we've got a yellow, but the yellow is a separate thing, so that's not going to change because that's a standardized light component that's just made in that color. But let's how I don't know, let's... I don't know if we can edit all these at once. No. But let's, I did print one out in kind of an army green, so let's just play with that. Essentially, we just swap these over here. So that's kind of one potential configuration. I'm curious if we did the TPU as black. So super tactical looking there. The Tacta trophy truck. I wonder, did like a steel gray. That looks kind of cool. So we're just experimenting with different colorways. This is kind of our super tactical trophy truck look. But let's go, let's see, let's jump back to our, that color. And then let's, what other colors can we play with here? Yeah, if we gave this the kind of the Mayday treatment and did that kind of Gulf colorway, it's like a stormtrooper now. Let's see. We're not going to, yeah, that's not what we wanted. So you get something like that. I actually don't mind the green with that, but in theory, if we're matching the Mayday, just to see how it looks, it's actually going to be orange. Which is definitely cool, but it's not not Thorne Buckingham style. But let's just keep playing around with some colors. It's interesting here. This A bottom really should be white. Let's go ahead and fix that right now. That's better. We could do an all black one. And then, I don't know, for the blues, maybe we could go like a gray. Make it super neutral. Maybe a darker gray. Interesting, but kind of boring. You know, ultimately, I do think the red is the way to go. Let's see. Just do some renaming here. I'm just renaming some of these. So essentially we've got our accent top, accent side, accent bottom, and so those are one part, and those are 3 different textures. And then let's just curious what this one is assigned to. Interesting. So main top, main side, main bottom. Okay, so let's go into materials. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to unlink these. I'm going to unlink these. Let's see, I'm just going through and finding parts that haven't been selected. And that's going to be bottom. Okay, so got most of our materials cleaned up. Let's see. Just kind of excellent. So now we pretty much only have materials in here that we are working with. So I'm fairly sure that's the colorway I'm going to go with, but again, let's just let me rename this. We can experiment now. If these are just kind of dark gray. It's not terrible, but it, yeah, kind of depowers the definition. I don't think I'll like it, but I wonder. If we did that army green. It's almost too Christmassy. Okay, so does that actually let us do what we want to do? Oh, look at that. Cool. Cool. So now I'm going to combine these into a multi-material. Awesome. And I just don't like looking at this, so we're just going to because those are actually, those are the bearing seals. Sometimes they're black, sometimes they're red. Okay. Let's see, what other main body colors could we go with here? So these are all of our kind of PLA colors. We could could run it as pink. Why not? Thorn Buckingham doesn't seem like a pink fella, but I do. It's kind of fun just to look at the different color options that we've got. Pink and what? Let's change this. Let's say no. Now we're talking. It's like a frosted cupcake. I do kind of like it. Not gonna lie. If that was I would love to show up to a race with this colorway on the real racetrack. Be badass. Okay. But probably not the one we're going to make it in. Pretty sure we're going to go with this red and black and green, but let's just keep playing around because this is fun. We could do orange, make the whole thing orange. It's kind of interesting. That's actually not terrible. I don't hate it. Let's look from the side. Kind of cool, kind of McLaren-esque, I think. Ooh, we've got a stray free camera. Stray material here. Let's unlink you because you should be accent bottom. That's better. I do actually kind of like the orange, gray, and black combo. Maybe we'll print one out and see how it goes. And one of the things I'm planning on doing, so let's do this. I want this middle axle clip to match. So let's unlink that. I want it to match the main. Awesome. Just playing around with some colors. Kind of the McLaren-y orange is pretty cool. Another thing we could do, let's go Could do this black. And then we could do the TPU in the gray. I don't like it as much. It's too Halloween-y. I do think the gray, though, see, that's going to be too much. But maybe not. Let's check it out. Yeah, too much. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do a few quick colorway renders so that we can kind of post them around and see what people think. Let's start with this one. We'll just call this McLaren orange gray. Let's go to renders. Add studios. Let's just do the top and the side. I'm just setting up the render over here. Kind of drag this in. So we're doing two studios, the top and the side view. We won't do them all just yet. I'm going to do it as an alpha channel so that I can bring them into my Photoshop kind of background. These are all going to be square. We can do these a little smaller though, make it go a little faster. 1280 is probably plenty. Cool. Well, that's paused. Let's jump back. Let's jump back over into the browser real quick. Oh, I know we did. Okay, so here's kind of our order of operations and what we've got left. we'll get all the production parts printed. We'll make sure that there aren't any little geometry issues or basically manufacturing issues that we have to change any geometry for. I'm pretty sure this should be pretty good. We've kind of been printing as we go. Then once that's finalized, we just have to take all of these brand new parts that we made, and we have to get them into the official model catalogs so that they're available for when we design other stuff, and then so that they're now a reference part, and so no matter what we do to this model, it won't affect that part. Basically kind of lock it off. It's a specific version that is locked. And then once those parts are in, we're going to go in and we're going to create an entirely new Onshape document that basically has really just two assemblies. One is the full render assembly like we have here that is built entirely with model catalog parts. So every part kind of over here will have a CR part number instead of these semi-random, unorganized names that we've been giving it as we work. So the idea is you can kind of work fast and loose. You get everything nailed down to what you want. Then you do the tedious work of kind of in a very organized fashion putting all these new parts into the catalog, assigning them a part number, and then you go rebuild the whole assembly as a reference, Onshape reference document that only uses CR numbered parts, and that way you kind of know nothing weird will happen to you as you move forward. And then we'll go into Airtable and we'll define the definitions for all of these things so that there's a database record of it as well. So it's all fairly involved and fairly organized because we're talking about a lot of parts. This thing probably, how many do we have just in this assembly? So 72 parts. So kind of a couple hundred parts in this total kit. We've got all the other kits. So the catalog itself is a couple hundred parts, unique parts, and that's just going to grow. So I expect within a few months we're going to be well over 1,000 standard model catalog parts for the ClickRigs system, which is pretty cool because again, the whole point of this of ClickRigs is that the parts are all interchangeable, and you can calm down, buddy. Calm down. Just Putz. Good girl. Yes. Is that you can build all kinds of new stuff. So the catalog is sort of like the raw material that you have to work with. So my goal is to get as many new parts as I can into this, because that just makes it a more expressive system. And right now we're just waiting on our sort of colorway renders. What I'll do is I'll render out a couple of all the different colorway options, and then we'll do kind of like we did with the Mayday rig. We'll kind of throw them out to the world and post them on social, and just kind of get feedback, see what people like. We could do them in like lots of different colorways, but I sort of like each rig to kind of have its own kind of livery that is associated with that rig, and that general colorway will persist as we move through version 1, version 2, version 3, etc. of the car. And so my hope is that each one of these models really sort of becomes a if you own all of the kits, you kind of have a physical record of the iterations that these things go through as they get better and better and better. And so I think that's kind of a neat concept, just to kind of see how designs evolved. That's one of my favorite that's one of my favorite things about looking at race cars or things like a Porsche 911, where you've got this long history of it's a single thing, or Formula One cars for that, pretty much any race car, and you can kind of see how year to year season to season, that design has progressed. And so kind of being able to look at those lineages, I think is super fun. So let's see, where's our rendering at? We're I'll show you here, we're 90% done with this one. We're basically rendering out two, so I don't know if this one is the first one or the second one. This is probably the first one, and we'll probably jump into the side view. But you can kind of see we've got our textures. Should probably reorient that a little bit, but it fairly accurately represents what the final products look like. Yep, now it's jumping into the side view. Yeah, I wasn't, again, I really had in my head what we've been using all along, this kind of red, black, and green colorway, but this orange, black, and gray is, it kind of speaks to me a little bit. I'm liking it, so we'll let that render, and then we'll move on to the next colorway. I am going to render out the frosted cupcake one, the pink and baby blue, because it's ridiculous in an awesome way, and I could probably be convinced to issue like random not random, but special editions of all of the rig kits and kind of that sort of frosted cupcake nonsense, just because. Let's see. Let's jump back into the browser. Yeah, I think today we're probably not going to get to assembly, but tomorrow we should be able to do a full assembly of one of these kits, start to finish, and just kind of see how all the parts fit together. So, and then figure out what the best order of operations will be, so that when we make the instructional video, that's as good as it can be. So, well, that finishes rendering. I'm going to go take a quick break, and I'll be right back. All right, we are back. AI on. Let's see. That's a little weird. Let's see. Let's go. Oh, interesting. Okay, let's see. Let's delete that job. Yes. Let's add studios. Perfect. Output. Okay, well that runs. Let's take a look. I organize some of the terrain stuff. I'm going to do one more kit, probably a fully linked rock crawler. But then after that, I'm going to jump back into this terrain project, because essentially we're working on a sort of modular terrain system, and it consists of essentially these individual tiles. These are all and they're all built on a square grid, so you can orient them in any direction. And then it's got these stackable rings that can just clip any of these tiles onto, and then you can also just keep stacking. And the whole thing can be connected with these little flexible bits, so you can just snap stuff together like that. And kind of build out these whole sort of little terrain ecosystems for jumping the cars. And so yeah, that's we'll be working on that probably in about 2 weeks. So kind of cool. And then pretty sure we won't be doing this with the rigs, obviously, but we might make some of the terrain stuff available as both a downloadable model so that you can 3D print your own terrain, or as fully printed, ready to go pieces. So still working that out, but I think that's something we're going to do. Okay, so let's jump back into here. I'm not sure why it's not. Yeah, I'm not sure why we're not getting the whole queue processed. wonder too. So we've been doing some of these with a kind of a Galaxy ASA. I am curious if Polymaker. Well, hopefully we're not muted anymore. Okay, there goes the second one. Cool. Finally, we got key shot to do the thing. We learned about curve pattern today. That's pretty awesome. Let's see. Polymaker. Yeah, so we don't have a Galaxy Orange, which is unfortunate because that would be we do have an orange though, so that's okay. Anyway, let's jump back into the key shot here. These are both rendered. Yes, okay. So now let's close that window. Let's go back into our materials. And let's do our fun one right now. Let's do our frosted cupcake. What did we say? That was going to be a pink. I think so. That was going to be the baby blue. Yes. And I think let's do the TPU in black. I don't think we wanted it green. Nah, it's too much. Okay. Where are you hiding? Aha. It's better. Alright, Frosted Cupcake Edition. Let's render it. Okay, so let's go to our kit assembly here. I'm just going to start. Oh, can't move that one. Grouping all the alright, now we're moving on to the side. Basically going to start moving all the parts that already exist in the model catalog. Into its own group here. And the parts that don't, kind of in its own group. Alright, looks like key shot is done. Alright, let's just do the one we were originally planning on, which was, I think, that. That. That's very strange. Don't know why I did that, but let's go ahead and add that one. That's why. Okay. These tires, or the wheels, actually get manufactured separately, and they're all black. So we're going to rename that so we don't get confused again. Wheel TPU. Excellent. While we're doing that, let's make sure that we can still get the green. Yep, we can. Did they give us a color code? Maybe. Doesn't look quite right compared to how it prints. It looks a lot more green and a little less like yellow, but yeah, they don't have the light green color in here. That's okay. Let's render these. That's better. And then what we'll do, we'll render out, I feel like we should do one more colorway, and then we'll throw them into the Photoshop template, do a little processing, and then that might be the end of the day at that point. Spent a lot of work into this one, but super happy. We've made a lot of developments, and honestly a number of actual improvements to the overall ClickRigs system. Like we've got 2 new ways of connecting the bearings to the axles and the uprights. That should be much more robust. On to number 2. Yeah, what else have we added? Some nice detailed lights. We've taken kind of some of the insights in terms of how to manufacture the hood that we did for the Earl Motors Baja Commando, and we've applied it here, which really opened up, I think, a lot of interesting design space for future rigs. We figured out a one-piece, a one-piece A-arm assembly, which should be a lot more robust, a lot stronger. Yeah, so let's see. Let's do one more colorway. We'll render that out, throw them into Photoshop, and then kind of see what people think. But this is the colorway we've been pretty much working with the whole time. Let's do, I don't know, what's another good main color? could do like primarily a gray one. That actually looks kind of cool. It's probably look terrible. It's not bad, but no. Again, just kind of playing with different options. Let's change this TPU to black. Not terrible, but let's just keep playing with some colors. It's actually oddly kind of interesting. Kind of like that too. I'm just kind of oddly, I kind of like that. Or that. And what if on this one we did the green? That's actually kind of neat. Let's try that. Let's render this one out. I'm gonna add a front view, maybe of this one too, just because. My guess is this will be everyone's least favorite, but you never know. Okay, so rendering this out. It's a unique colorway. It's kind of interesting. It grows on you. My guess is it's not gonna resonate, but I sort of like it. So we are in the process of rendering out a bunch of different colorways and kind of switch over to back to that. These are just kind of some quick renders. And this one we're doing kind of a 3/4 front view, just because I think it's kind of interesting. And then what we'll do is we'll jump into kind of the Photoshop template that I have set up, and we'll walk through some of that. You can kind of see. So when I render these in KeyShot, I render them as a PSD with the alpha layer turned on, so I can just select just the image and the shadow, and then bring them into a template that has a kind of a background texture and a little bit of a vignette on it, and whatever other layers that you need. So this is almost done. And we'll have 4 colorways, I believe. Let's just save this. We're going to jump into Photoshop. Let me open a this one here. Okay, let's see, can I change this? Yep. Okay, so we are in Photoshop. Let's just kind of open all these things here. And so let's start with the orange one. I'm just going to kind of I forgot this this whole thing is. So let's scale this. I normally render these out bigger, but to save time we cool. Let's just kind of adjust a little brighter. Let's try Smart Sharpen. Perfect. So we're kind of just touching this up. And then let's go, let's add this one. Let's turn that layer off. Paste that one in. Again, normally these are the same size, but just to save time today, we rendered these out a little bit smaller. Do a I think that's pretty good. So we just add it as an adjustment layer, so I don't have to do it to every new layer that I bring in. Excellent. Let's just close you. So we got kind of some of the different colorways that we're working on. I'm pretty sure this one's my favorite, but we'll throw them all in and throw them all out into the world and see what people think. But let's just keep adding these renders. This is the colorway that we've been working with pretty much since we started this design. Kind of makes me want to do a render of the orange one this way as well. Let's jump in and do that real quick. Okay, well that's happening. Jump back into Photoshop. Let's see. Save that. Probably a way to automate this, but I don't even know what to call this one. It's like a Aquaman or something. I'll call this sea, like the ocean. Seaside. Silly. Seafront. Cool. Well, we got all of those. Let's just save this. Cool. So we got, just kind of looking at these here. Bunch of quick renders done. I really like the orange, black, and gray. I mean, I do like the red. I mean, I kind of like them all. I think Cupcake's rad. Who wouldn't want to race Cupcake? But yeah, let's get back to the boring bits here. Yeah. Clips. And so this is not very entertaining. I apologize, but part of the process, I suppose. Just kind of visually separating all these components to make it a little easier on myself. I'm not going to stream the process of adding all these new parts to the catalog. I'll do that in my own private time. Okay. So this is essentially kind of our layout. So everything except for these parts are, these parts are model catalog parts that already existed. All these other parts are brand new parts that we created for the this new kit. So let's see. And I'd start putting them into the model catalog today, but I want to get some test kits made and just make sure we don't have to make any changes. And then once we know it's good, basically take all of these parts and put them into the model catalog. Let's see, how many parts is that? $55. So we made 55 new components, although some of them are doubled up, but I guess as we probably made 4. Oh, those are new. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 55 minus 12, what is that? 45, 43, 43 parts. That's not too shabby. That's a good number of parts. Not a bad number of parts. So, what? Trying to think what the best thing to do next is. Let's jump to the overhead here real quick. Dome box. So here's some of the parts that that's kind of a black and gray. It's just what I had in the machine, so maybe we'll have this one. Let's just do a quick, since tomorrow we're going to be kind of doing a test assembly. Let's just kind of do a quick rundown and see what we think. About the best way to assemble this thing would be. Let's just keep you together for now. We're just disassembling our kit up to this point, and because tomorrow we'll have some test production pieces, and we're gonna do an assembly video, but kind of figured we'd take a look and see what the best approach and order of operations will be for the assembly. It's almost like that, maybe. So you can go kind of that way. See, I've already lost it. I've already lost the thread. And from there, you could probably sort of assemble this. I think something like that. I almost feel like this point is when you'd want to attach the stud. Might even be worth, so before those come on, probably putting this bit in just so that doesn't want to flop side to side. That's better. And you've got the fully functional A-arms at that point. And then I think you go and add your struts, and then your hold down piece. At that point, maybe this piece, so throw it out on there. Just gonna lock that. Although you gotta do the sides first. So you're gonna do your trailing arm. Just like that. Then you can do this piece. Because it'll kind of picks up all of those and locks them in. Okay, I like that. And then here, that's where our spring will go. that spring just kind of nestles down into that slot. And connect those up later. Then you've got your axle. And then these would probably normally be not attached to the limit straps, but and then your clips. And you kind of hook one in, and especially the first couple times you put these on, it can take a decent amount of force. And just at that point, let's see, we got these little fellas. Just don't jump the gun. I'm just going to take these limit straps off. That's better. So now can attach the trailing arms. The easiest way, I think, to do the limit strap adjustment is to pull it tight. I'll just kind of weave that through. Lock it off. And then we've got the struts for the tail. Clip in the ball end links. Add our clips back in. Just like that. Snap our side pods on, and attach the bottom skid plates. We've got our hood and grill and the upper light. Let's put the... And for these, I think the easiest way is to probably put the bearings on first, because there's a good retaining clip there now, and then sort of, if you can see that, but get your fingers on both sides of the bearing and just kind of squeeze it in. Because if you just try to push on here, you're just going to deform the suspension. I kind of like to tuck these up under here. Just get the tails out of the way. And then the giant light bar. And we're back together. Excellent. Well, today we... interesting. I lost the... Alright, so today we got the all the renders complete, at least the initial renders, just to test some colorways. We've got a handful of different colorways, this red, black, and green, kind of an orange, black, and gray. A cupcake version, which it's like a frosted cupcake. It's like pink and baby blue and looks awesome. And then what else do we have? The sort of ocean theme, like a gray and a green blue and a lime green. So we'll throw those out there, see what people think. Tomorrow we will do a full assembly from a kit of test parts, and if everything looks good, we'll be up in the store this week. It's a little bit early, but I think that's a good natural stopping point. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you tomorrow. Thanks.